Cheers. Today, we're back. We're back from our boat viewing trip across the country. And we have a lot of boats to talk about, a lot of boats to show you. We're starting with boat number 1 tonight, and that is the Ocean Alexander 548. It's the biggest boat we saw, and it probably has the most things to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we go.
The first boat we're going to review is the Ocean Alexander 548. This boat is 60-ish feet long. I really was looking forward to looking at this boat because I know it has a ton of storage. And you can see here, how wide the side rails are. So it was very promising as we stepped onto the stern of the boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like the grip tech that he put down on the deck here. This is the cockpit, and I liked that there's this faux teak on the cockpit and the swim step. I really like some sort of decking on the back or the upper deck.
Keeps your feet from burning when the sun is blazing.
And the whole cockpit area you can't really see because it was covered, but it is a very large area where you can set up furniture, tables, chairs. So I like the cockpit. A little bit of damage down there on the door. But again, the side rail.
Steps to step up.
Yes.
Here we're taking off our shoes, walking in.
So here it really kind of looks like a living room. There's a lot of furniture, a lot of wood.
There's a lot of space.
Yeah. Here's the lower helm and the galley. You can see here lots of counter space, lots of cupboard space, microwave,
range oven.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space.
A lot of big sink. Here we go down the stairs. And here it's kind of like interesting. I thought the master, and this is the master right here, the master really was a pretty spacious master. Look at all of that storage. I mean, some of this storage goes above and beyond some of the 60-foot boats we've seen. And there was a lot of storage inside storage. And you can see right to the right of that TV, the little pleated door right there, that's the washer dryer. I don't know if we took a look at that in the video, but
it's pretty spacious in that stateroom. So it meets all the requirements. It's a stateroom.
Yeah. And here I think here's the master head. Pretty spacious. Yeah, here's the washer dryer. And it's a full washer dryer. It's not a combined one. Here we go into the second stateroom. It's got a dual bunk bed here. I don't know if I'm a super fan of these types of staterooms where the bed is divided.
I actually like it because it gives you options. If the kids have their friends over, they're not stuck in the same bed. It's actually separated. Even if we have couples on, I think people will be fine sleeping in two separate mattresses. Are always so comfy.
I can live with it. Nice cedar closet. Again, space everywhere. Here is the VIP stateroom.
It's right under the bow.
Mm-hmm. And then the VIP head. Here we're on the bow. Bow is enormous. Like, this feels like a giant boat. And we actually had a 60-foot boat before, and the bow on the Ocean Alexander is very big and very impressive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here we go. And see, you never have to leave the side rails. The side rails connect to the cockpit, connect to the side rails, connect to the bow. I love the walk around feature there. So this is the helm, the upper helm anyway, and very large area.
It was winterized, so you can't see a ton, but it could fit. You could see there's a dinghy in the back. There we go.
Yeah, and so he got electronic upgrades. And there's a lot of new electronics, both in the upper and lower helm. You see right there, the shifters, that's an integrated electronic shifter. It's okay. I personally do not like integrated shifters. I like when it's separate throttle and separate shifters. It's 4 sticks instead of 2. Especially on my last boat, I had integrated shifters, and it was very hard to control such a large boat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just my opinion, but it was hard to control such a large boat when you had electronic shifters that were very sensitive. So, just my personal opinion. Nice wheel. Nice grip tech down there. This is the engine room.
I think your favorite part is the fact that you can step into the engine room.
Yeah.
And it's not crawling into the engine room.
Yes, this is a very spacious engine room. And you can see this is a immaculate engine room. Like, everything's very clean. Everything is set aside and put away. There's no oil splatter. There's no water corrosion. I was very happy when I was in this engine room. And you can almost walk around without crouching. Almost. Yeah, he had a lot of good stuff installed. Here's the outside view. And
It's well kept up.
Yeah, he just had it cleaned and buffed, so the hull looks really nice.
So for me, I wanted to like this boat. I didn't want a large 60-foot boat, as I've stated before.
Mm-hmm.
I want a lot of space, and there's a lot of space in every stateroom. You can stand up there. You're not hunching down. It's very comfortable and spacious. But the boat is aged. And while it's very well kept up, the engine's kept up, the hull, it's great looking. I just, to me, feel like a boat that's this aged feels like we're going to have more maintenance than I care to have to do.
Yeah. Well, so the most money you're ever going to pour into a boat is going to be in the engine room for sure. But, and the engine room was immaculate. But I do agree. I think that there's a lot of little things throughout the boat that I think were a little bit dated. And we would have to, first of all, it was at the top of our range of what we can afford. Mm-hmm. And then at the top of our range, we wouldn't have any money left to do upgrades, which we would probably want to do some good amount of upgrades to the interior. So,
yeah.
So let's go to the big board. Let's look at the top 10 requirements and see what it checked and what it didn't.
Okay.
All right. So let's go to the big board. Let's see what the Ocean Alexander 548 checked. The first was the back porch area. Is it big enough for multi-purpose activities? I would say yes. It's a pretty big cockpit. It can hold multiple people, multiple stuff. So I think it checks that box. For number 2, it kind of checked the box. So I'm going to kind of put it half and half. It does have 2 engines. It is diesel, but it's over 5,000 hours. So it's a little bit above the range I wanted to buy for pre-existing engines. And I have no idea what the fuel efficiency is. But seeing that it's at least an 80,000, maybe 85,000 pound boat, it's probably not going to get 1 gallon per mile. So correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it just does not seem like such a heavy boat would be able to be that fuel efficient. So I'm going to say it's half and half. What about number 3?
Yeah, so while there's a lot of space on the boat, it's a lot of living space, and we need working spaces for our laptops, desktops, monitors, and we can rejigger some of the spaces to accommodate it, but just right off the bat, I would say no.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of places to set down a workstation other than right behind the lower helm, where there's a little like cubby with a table. I didn't see much else. We would have to bring in lots of additional stuff.
Yeah, and modify it. And again, this is really our opinion of what we saw.
Yeah.
You can put a desk anywhere, but we didn't see anywhere that we thought was convenient and we would want to place desks.
Yes. Number 4, I'm going to say it didn't meet the criteria either, just because it does have bow and stern thrusters, and I have never driven or piloted a Ocean Alexander this big. But given how heavy the boat is, I'm assuming it's probably not as responsive as some of the other boats we're looking at. So while it may be responsive for a 60-foot boat that weighs 80,000 pounds, compared to some of the other boats we're going to have on the list, it is not as responsive. So number 5 needs good tankage. It excels and then some in this area. The fuel tanks are 1,000 gallons, so even if it only gets half a gallon per mile, or no, half a mile per gallon, even if it gets that, it's still going to be more than 400 miles of range. So huge gas tanks, huge fuel tanks, I should say. The 50-gallon holding tank was met. I believe this has 2 60 gallons in total, so that meets the criteria. And then the 200 gallons of freshwater capacity, I believe it has 250. So
A plus for number 5.
Yeah, it meets all of the requirements here.
Storage, and clothes, food, supplies. We talked about it as you saw the video. There's a ton of cubbies and just a lot of storage. So a boat this big better have storage. So check. Stairs between decks, number 7. I'll take that since that one was mine. Fine. I mean, there were ladders to get up from the back
cockpit
the stern
area.
Cockpit, which I would say is a no. I feel like maneuvering on the boat has to be easy, period. So while you saw there were stairs, like the molded stairs in the decks, if there's a ladder to get anywhere, it's not, for me, it's a big no, period. Full stop.
Yeah, there are stairs to get to the fly bridge, but it's deep inside the boat. So, I mean, if you're running down from the fly bridge and you need to get to the stern quickly, it's not easy to get there.
I'd have to Dukes of Hazzard somersault into the...
Right. There are 2 heads on the boat, so that was an easy check mark. One with a full shower. And none of them were wet heads, so that's good. What about the galley?
Yeah, the way it reads there, large full galley, enough space, it does. But maybe it should be like a lighter green because it's a dated galley. You know, there's space, you know, there is a refrigerator and then there's a freezer. You saw the microwave and the range and the oven. It felt small-ish for 2 people to work, and the cabinets were quite low, so it didn't feel like a large open galley, even though it technically fit the requirements. So that would be a little iffy. Even though we checked it, like it made it.
I actually thought the galley was pretty big. It was like an apartment-sized kitchen. The only thing that kind of bothered me was that the cupboards came down and blocked the view. I think it would have been much better served if they removed that row of cupboards in between the helm and the working area.
See, so it's not really a total check.
Yeah, it's a big galley. It just there's some things to do to it. And then what do you think about number 10?
I mean, it met it, right? But we had space to maneuver. We kind of talked about it with the decks and the ladders. I did like the walk around. That was super simple. It was very sturdy. I didn't feel like I was going to fall off if, you know, we hit waves. Beds, easy to get in, get out, you know. So I think from the space point of view, of course, a 60-foot would meet it and then some. But what did you think overall?
I loved the fact that you could walk around the side rails and the sidewalks, and you never had to go into the boat. You could always just keep walking around the side rails, and I mean, it's very easy to maneuver, very easy to drop fenders, throw lines, go to the back of the boat. Like, you never had to go back into the boat. So I thought that was great. The railings were very sturdy, very large, heavy duty. So that was good. Beds were walk around. There's no beds that were hard to like get onto. The only thing I would say is in the space to maneuver, like getting through the boat is kind of a maze. Like, don't you think, like, you come in through the cockpit and there's like the living room type of salon, but then you got to go around the corner and then there's the galley and then you got to go down and around and then there's 2 rooms. So there's like a lot of like winding places in the boat. I wouldn't say it's a very open floor plan. There's not a lot of open areas. There's a lot of walls and there's a lot of hallways.
Yeah. I mean, they built it well. I feel like the space is used well, better than, you know, I would say the Carver that we owned. So I wouldn't knock it for that. It's, to me, good living, but I just think of all of the practical aspects. Like, if this boat doesn't fit the purpose that we want to use it, right? Like, it's got great tankage, it's got, you know, all of these amenities that you think bigger is better. Well, if it's just us 2, I'm not quite sure bigger is better, because if I'm handling the lines, the boat is really heavy. Like, a 60-foot boat is heavy. Yeah. Especially if it's full of gas and water. And I just worry about the ability to find docks and...
Oh, you mean for the size of the boat?
For the size of the boat, yeah.
All right, so that's a wrap. We are done with the Ocean Alexander, and it was a great boat. Had a couple of things we're not sure about. Had a couple of great things we like.
It was 50-50 on our requirements chart. I think that as we review the other boats, we'll just have to compare them, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it stays on the list, but I think we have a bunch more to get to. So next up, I think, is the Meridian, right?
Yep.
All right.
We'll review the Meridian next time around. Next
week, we will review the Meridian 459. Until next time, cheers.
Happy boating.